Hi, it's Mary Beth with sacredgrowth.com. And today I have the delight in interviewing Kevin RIngstaff. And Kevin and I have a mutual interest in a subject that not everybody is excited about, but everybody experiences, which is grief. And so I work with a lot as an animal communicator. You all know, I hope, that I work with a lot of people and their animals through their animals transition before, during, and after. In fact, I just got off the phone with somebody whose dog passed a couple of days ago, and we had a really nice session. But what's different is Kevin has groups and they're online, and this I love. So let me read your bio, Kevin, and then we'll get into talking about this, okay? And welcome, by the way. I'm just happy to have you. Kevin has been a student of grief for many years. He creates products and activities on grief and invents ways to help teach about grief to everybody. Kevin's been through several grief specialist certification programs over the years, and he's currently studying to be a Board Certified Hospital Chaplain. Wow. He spends his days talking about grief, creating activities and products around grief, and listening to the stories from people all over the country. He founded his first company, Pet Cloud, to help those who are going through the loss of a pet, and that's PETCLOUD.pet. How cool is that? And he started a second company, Grieving at Work, which is grievingatwork.com, to teach management how to better support grieving employees in the workplace. And I know about that one too. So I think it's so great. I wish we'd known about you earlier on. His life is currently graced and occupied by 3 pets: his Old English Sheepdog, Sir William Broderick, Brody, his cat, Ponce de León, also known as Ponce, and a tarantula that he accidentally came into possession of, Lucy. So welcome, Kevin. I gotta ask, how did you get into the field of grief? That's a tough subject to be hanging out with all the time.
It is. And well, thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate being here.
Oh, yeah.
Well, like you said at the very beginning, not everyone is excited about grief. And that's true. And that's true too with me, right? When I grew up, we never talked about grief, right? We held it in and we pushed it down and we did other things to cover it up and move on in life, right? And
yeah.
that only works for a little bit. Right?
Yeah, it doesn't go away if you don't do something.
It comes out in other ways, more destructive ways.
Mm-hmm.
And that happened with me until I eventually went on and found out a little bit about grief. I started to learn about grief and go through the grief of my own and just let go of that pain I'm holding on to.
Yeah.
That's how I got started in it back, 2015.
2015,
something
wow.
like that.
Yeah, I personally lost my first husband back in 1998 when he was 45 years old. And so although I had lost my dad before that, you kind of expect, I had to say it this way, no time is a good time to lose somebody you love.
Mm-hmm.
But this was not expected. And that place that you go to when you lose someone you love and you don't have the tools, it's a very hard place to navigate, is probably the best way. So, yeah.
You were talking about expectations.
Mm-hmm.
There's a natural order in life. We expect our grandparents and our parents to die before us, and that's the way it should be. But that's not the way it is.
No guarantees.
Yeah.
But you don't, that's just a theory till it happens to you, and then you realize that it's literally there are no guarantees.
Yeah.
And finding your footing again is something that's terrible and beautiful at the same time. If you can find your way.
Yeah, I like how you said that, terrible and beautiful together. And that's the thing about grief. It's, we only see the one side of grief, the pain, the regret, the shame, the guilt, all of that we hold on to. But we don't see anything else in there. All the beauty, the saying goodbyes, the I love yous, I'm sorry's.
True
All
enough.
the lessons we take forward. We don't think about any of that generally.
No, we're just into the loss. But sometimes what the grief does is opens you up to a part of yourself that wasn't really present, which is also, I think it's a gift if you can find it, and it's probably different for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately, we take lessons from grief. We were talking about sudden loss. My cat, Blaze Fire, right there. Ponce's brother. He died suddenly 2.5 years ago.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, he was 2.5 years old. My cat.
Oh,
He's had a heart attack and died one Wednesday afternoon.
My husband died of a heart attack too. That's,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
We were talking about what we take away from that.
Yeah.
He died, the condition was fate, feline atrial, something like that, thrombosis embolism, and I remember it just because of the word fate.
Fate.
That's what he died of. He had a heart defect, and my cat Ponce, this dude right here, he has the same defect.
Oh.
Right? So he's 4 years old now.
Mm-hmm.
And at any point, right, he could drop dead of the same thing. He has the same heart defect. And, going back to, what grief brings to us, Blaze Fire taught me to live in the present now. Right now is what I have. I have this time with Ponce. I'm not guaranteed tomorrow.
I have a saying as my little dog Stella ages, I always make a song out of it, is every day with Stella is a good day. Because it's true. Now I will survive if and when she goes, but that's how I stay in the now. Yeah. People sometimes don't get the depth of loss when we lose a pet. I've delved into that, but what do you think is going on in this area? Why does it hit us so hard? And I got to ask the other question is, why do people not get it, that it hits us so hard?
Well, the depth of loss is a little bit easier to explain. We're way more intimate with our pets than we are with humans.
We are.
Right? I can't go to the bathroom without this guy following me in there and watching. If we had that kind of connection with humans, it would hurt a whole lot more. Like if that connection that we had with our moms never disappeared, our 2-year-old connection, if we kept that alive, right, that would be a massive loss when it happened. They're with us in some cases 24 hours a day. Especially these past 3 years, everyone's working from home with their dogs. We get that nice quality bonding time every single day.
Oh yeah, it's wonderful.
We grow to look for it, right? It's our source of joy, stress relief.
It is. There's also a lot fewer hearing the word kerfuffles, but like stuff going on with our animals than we have with our humans.
Mhm.
It's
That's
there's
two.
just less, there's just less baggage is probably one of the words I've heard too,
Mhm.
which makes the love flow so much easier. I find anyway, as much as I love my humans.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And yeah, that's the thing. Our pets don't talk back.
no, well,
It's just
as an
accept.
animal communicator, sometimes mine do, but
Well,
generally
generally
speaking,
speaking, yeah.
I'm teasing.
So and when we have that massive, intimate, daily connection, right?
Yeah,
It's a huge change when it's gone.
it
And
is a
we think
huge
about
change.
it when we wake up, when we go through our days, when we go to sleep. It's with us all the time because they're with us all the time.
Yes,
All the reminders that they left, all their toys, the bowls, the beds, all that's still
yes,
there, but they're not.
exactly. It is really hard. We still, I think all of us still have mementos of our animals around. I know people that have made little shrines, for their animals, and there's places where they've been, um, and those that can have them buried in the backyard with, little memories and things like that. And we don't want to lose all our touch with them because they're so
Mhm.
important to us.
Right.
Yeah, yeah,
And it's really hard for other people to understand that for a number of reasons. Going back to that second part of your question,
mhm,
it's well, first off, it's grief. Grief is grief. We're talking about pet loss here, but you were talking about your husband earlier, and we can't compare grief. There's no, it's like comparing apples to cars.
yeah,
Completely different,
yeah,
completely different reactions, completely different ways that which we cope and talk about it and move through grief. And
yeah,
you know, but still we don't get that as society. We hide behind grief, or we hide from grief.
I think that's accurate, hiding from grief.
Like we're a society of fixers. We want to fix it. We want there to be a solution.
Yeah,
And that's why we say a lot of the things we do in grief.
yeah. And I wonder if that's talking about why it's so hard to talk about grief. Is it something that um, people don't want to go there and acknowledge that that's going to be part of their life, or they don't?
Yeah, that's
Why is
part
it
of
so
it.
hard to talk about?
It's scary,
It
right?
is.
If you had a loss and I need to go talk to you and make sure you're okay, it reminds me of that fact that I'm gonna die. That
Yeah,
it's one day soon, it's gonna be my turn on the front row of the funeral.
yeah,
And we don't know what to say. We're uncomfortable with those emotions ourselves.
yeah,
And it's a whole lot easier to try to fix it, try to say something to make it go away so we can get back to our lives.
that's true. That is absolutely true. Um, when did you come up with the idea of grief groups? I'm going to jump there, and then we can go back to some of our reactions. But when did you come up with the idea of having online grief groups for people around pets?
Well, that came to me through the Association of Pet Loss and Bereavement. They were
Oh,
founded by Dr. Wallace Sythe back in the 80s.
uh-huh.
And that's the first certification I went through.
Okay.
They've been doing like online chat rooms for pet loss since 1999, I think.
Wow.
And it's all text and it's hard to read and type and all of that. And You know,
Oh,
with the video chat, it just came a whole new avenue of engaging with people
yeah,
and like
yeah.
seeing each other, sharing pictures, sharing stories in real time.
It makes such a difference. Oh my goodness,
Yeah,
yes.
big difference.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm thrilled with that because when I've looked into grief support, um, if you want to go in person, which in normal in when we actually are able to go in person safely, and seems to be getting there again, but there's not a lot of options. There's not a lot of places, not a lot of offerings. Have you found that too, or I didn't?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
Especially in person. In person, you're going to see we meet, you know, the first Tuesday of the month. Well, if it's Wednesday after the first Tuesday, you got to wait a whole nother month to be able
yeah,
to talk with someone for support.
yeah, yeah. S- So what do people what do people come? Well, I'm going to ask a different way. When people come to your group, what are they looking for? And where are they finding the healing? Because I think that's probably what you're going for, is some healing around the grief. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah.
A lot of the times people come to me for validation.
Ah,
It's okay that it hurts as much as it does. You're not going crazy, right? This is
right.
what deep personal tragic loss is. And the second thing is to community. It's not only is it okay, but you're not alone going through this. There are other people who are going through this just like you. And you can come, you can see, you can listen to their stories and feel a little bit less alone in what we're going through. You know,
Yeah.
like with the uh, uh, you know, when we're happy, when we're laughing, we want to be around other people who are happy and laughing, right? We're on the
Mm-hmm.
same wavelength, the same energy readings there.
Mm-hmm.
The same thing with grief, right? What is that? Misery loves company. Grief shared is grief lessened.
Yes, it is
And it's
true.
true. Like we want to be acknowledged, to be heard. And that goes like to the very last thing that we do that really helps is sharing stories, reminding people that we still have that joy, right? You know,
Right. I know every time I get on, if I'm doing something for somebody whose animal has passed, at some point I'm going to get to hear some really good stories
mhm.
about their animal, and it's like one of the best parts. And I think it is for them too, because we sit in
Yeah,
awe of this beautiful creature who's brought us so much joy, and these memories are just going to be there. And so sharing those, uh, the sweetness of life shows up again in just sharing those memories, right? It's amazing how good that feels.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's fun too. And I have people calling in on my hotline, my grief support hotline, and they're just
Oh,
bawling in tears,
yeah,
right? Because you know they just had to put their dog or cat down.
yeah.
And you know, 15 minutes later, you know, the favorite part of my jobs too is listening to the stories. And I always ask for that. And at the end of that call, we're laughing, we're sharing in that memory a lot of times. And it's
So
so
good.
powerful to
Yeah.
notice that, to note that, you know, we can focus on the pain of the grief and or we can focus on, you know, all the things that we still have and memories and joy and experiences. That's part of it.
That is part of it. That really is. Um, so do people find that they come regularly, or is it a couple sessions of, in the group where they feel like they're doing good now, or how does it work for people?
Yeah, well, that's different for different people, right? Everyone's
Yeah.
different. I normally have people, 1 to 3 times,
1 to 3.
and I have, before they start, dropping off. But there are some people who have been there going on a year,
Yeah.
coming not every week, but every once in a while they still come in.
Yeah.
Like there's no
Nice.
timeline on how long we're always going to miss them.
Yeah, that's what I've learned, is that it can pop up at the oddest time. It is not logical. It grief decides when it's going to pop in. It doesn't check your schedule to see if this is a good time for you.
Yeah, I agree. Well, it looks like we have a conflict here. What about tomorrow at 5? Would that be better? Just a wall of misery for an hour?
Yeah, no, we're doing it now. Sorry, that's like, or you do shut them down, but if you pay the price, so can't do it too often. Well, tell me. Oh, you had a question that I loved. What are some terrible things that we say to each other about grief, so we can not do that to people?
Yeah.
Please tell us.
Well, we touched on it earlier about why we say the things. So let's start there. We say them to try to fix it.
Yeah.
Right. There's no fixing it. We can't go back and undo what's already been done, bring people back from the dead.
Nope.
Right. We can't do it. And saying all the things that we say is an attempt to just cover that up, cover that fact up, cover this pain of parting up. Because it's not about anything that we say. It's not about us. It's not about the person who died even. It's about the person remaining who has that grief.
Yeah. So
some of the things that we say are, they're in a better place now. At least they're not suffering anymore. God just needed another angel. And like all this
is, excuse me, I'm just gonna say, well, he didn't ask me, because I'd like to have had a say in this. Anyway, yeah. I can feel that when you say that to me. I'm like,
and it's intellectually true, right? They're not suffering anymore. Right? They're not in pain anymore. That doesn't make me feel any better. Yeah, I'm in pain. No one's addressing this pain. Like I'm the one alive and saying goodbye, and that hurts.
It does. It does.
And right, there's nothing that we can say that's gonna fix it. So we can just say, I'm sorry, I'm here. And just hold that space.
Oh, I like that.
Some of the other fun things that people say in grief, they say it was only a dog or a cat.
Oh, that's what makes me want to go.
Yeah, or along the same lines, are you going to get another dog or cat? Are you just going to go out and replace it? Like that it's going to work, make me feel better.
That always floors me when I hear that. It's unbelievable, because if you have actually had a relationship with your dog or your cat or your bunny or tarantula, that they're a very unique individual, and that the next furry or unfurry critter will come in, but they will not be that soul. They won't, we know that. So you're telling us that is like, no, that's not working for me. I may be ready at some point, but it's not going to be, you know, interchangeable parts. You know, you just put you put a new one on and oh, we're good to go. Let's do it. It's not
That's not a
like that.
sprocket.
No, it is not a sprocket. You know, dog fits here. No, cat. Yeah. Yeah.
And we do that with other things other than just pet loss.
Yeah.
Don't worry, there are plenty of fish in the sea. You'll find someone, right?
Yes.
Like don't be sad. You know, like I never liked them anyway for you.
Oh, I heard that one.
Or, you know, you're young, you can try to get pregnant again. And it's these ideas that, you know, look on the bright side of life.
Yeah.
And, you know, and it's all true. And by the way, this could all be very well-meaning people who are saying this. They're not jerks. They're just,
No, they're
they have no
not.
idea what to say. And so we fill the air with something.
Yeah.
And that's what all this comes from.
It almost feels like that there's such a discomfort with the immensity of the loss, whatever it is, that we really want to wrap it up and get it back into a this is the person saying those words, get it back into a manageable feeling or a thing that happened. And the truth is, you can't wrap it up in those lovely phrases and make it all good. But it makes us uncomfortable, right? That's why we say it. We want to do something or you know, fix it. As you said, we're fixers.
Mm-hmm. Can't unscramble the egg.
No.
Yeah, and you know, we want to get it back under control. Control is what we lost in grief.
It is true. It is true.
Or the semblance of control.
Boy, that is it, because grief does it has its own time and place. It shows up in crazy ways and sometimes embarrassing ways where you're how do you say it? For instance, you're at a movie with your girlfriend. She took you to a movie, thought it'd be really good, and there was something about relationships, and you're bawling like an idiot because it pulled up some grief about a relationship that you lost, and that's embarrassing. What's wrong with her? Just as an example. But there's the pet stuff too. There's the animal stuff too. You know, it just shows up, and we definitely loss of control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't like to be out of control.
No.
We live in concrete jungles for that reason.
True enough. True enough. Well, if somebody is listening to this and they have some kind of grief going on, whether it's for their animal or their something else in their life, Kevin, what thoughts would you have for folks? How can they help themselves?
You know, one of the best things we can do is to let it be okay to not be okay.
Perfect.
I think it was Megan Devine who wrote that book. It's okay not to be okay.
Yeah.
And it's so true. This idea that we should be happy 100% of the time is a fantasy. It's false. We can't have that in our lives.
No.
And we can allow for some of these other emotions to come through, because grief is, you know, painful, but it's the greatest teacher in life. There is nothing else that will show you what's the most important faster than death.
Oh my goodness, that is true.
And if we just gloss over those intense feelings, we miss those lessons.
We do. We do. I think part of us starts to shut down in some respect. I don't know exactly how that works, but it just feels like part of our selves just close a door that's actually got some gifts if we don't.
Yeah.
Well,
We can just let it be okay
that'd be okay.
to feel however we feel, for anyone going through any kind of grief.
Mhm.
And the best things to do about it are to journal and to find someone to talk with.
How do people deal with their anger? Because I remember anger, just you laugh. It's, it's not anger that makes sense. Like, I remember looking at other people whose dads were still alive. For instance, I thought, why you?
Mhm.
What makes you so special that you can still have your dad around? Totally senseless, but the anger is strong. Do you work with people with anger,
And that's the difference between irrational and rational anger. There are things we should be angry about too.
That's true. Good point.
And there are things like, especially with guilt. Guilt is anger turned inwards and being angry at ourselves, things we should have done differently. And, like we don't get angry. Like other things, we allow ourselves to be angry.
Mhm.
And what we can look at really what's causing that anger. When you were seeing other people with their dads, right? And we were
Yeah,
angry. What's causing that is not them or their dads, it's that I've lost.
I've lost my dad.
And we can be a little bit more descriptive with that emotion.
Mhm.
Instead of just saying angry or sad, right? We can say, I'm despondent, I'm jealous, I'm feeling like life is unfair, right? We can like use different words.
That's good.
Anger and sadness is just catch-all. There's a billion different emotions in there.
Yeah, yeah. What I hear is what that does is it gives a little bit of space between the feeling and me. Instead of me being angry, now I can see that there's anger there, and what do I do with it? Or it's really despondency, and it's wishing I had done more here, the guilt as you're talking about too. So
Like the first step is to find out what kind of anger it is.
okay.
Right? If it's justified, let's do something with it. Let's write a letter. Let's call, a board of directors of some company. Let's do what we need to. If it's irrational, let's talk about it. Let's say it out loud.
Got it. This is good stuff.
And of course, like the physical, things in anger, like we can exercise to let that energy out.
Mhm.
Go punch something. Like go like scream into a pillow. Do what we need to let that physicalness out. But it's probably going to come back. If it does, right, and it keeps coming back, we can find different ways of managing it.
That's good.
This is Brody here.
Let's see. I'd love to see Brody. Brody, come say hi.
See if you can see him there.
Almost. I can see that. There we go. Hi, Brody. Thank you for showing up, babe. Hey, guy. So glad you're here.
I am too. He's my old man. He's 14 this year.
My little girl's going to be 14 too. Yeah.
What's her name?
Her name is Stella.
Stella.
People always laugh, Stella.
Stella.
Right. Some of us know what that is. Yeah. So what I've noticed is if you don't, let's see if I can say this correctly. If I don't keep a look for my anger, I can end up taking it out on other animals in the family. It's kind of surprising, but it's like if the sweetest, bestest one passes and the other ones can be a pain in the you know what sometimes, the comparisons happen, and why are you still here, and why is she gone? And so I see that in the animal world. I'm not sure how it plays out in the human world, but it seems like we can take unknowingly and not purposefully. The anger can really hurt others in our lives as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, I talk about the energy of grief. When we're grieving, it takes a massive amount of energy. And we don't have the same amount of energy to deal with everything else in our lives like normal.
Yes.
People become more annoying than they used to.
That's true.
Traffic drives 5 miles an hour slower. Right? And
Yes.
be a little bit mindful of that too. Right? So when we're grieving, we can say no to other people and other situations, and like separate ourselves out. Like if we know this place is going to make us angry, like we can just say no. Don't talk to that person today. We don't owe them any explanation. We're grieving. We have the right to take care of ourselves, to look out. Because if I don't have that energy to spend on you and your problems, right, I can't take care of me. And I don't heal, I don't move, I don't change and grow.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, you choose more wisely about who you're going to interact with and how to expend the energy that you have. Well, that's good.
Plus, like there are people, who, going back to the people who say those things, right? We don't have the energy to educate them on what to say either. And so we can just let that go too.
Yeah.
And just, that person can't handle grief. And it can just be, we can downgrade that relationship a little bit.
Yeah. That's really
there's a fun saying, grief rewrites your address book. You're going to find your friends who show up for you, and they're going to move up, and everyone else is going to stay the same and move down.
That's a really good truth. That has been true. That's cool. Thank you for that.
No,
well, is there anything that we haven't discussed that you think would be important for folks to know? Because I'm really enjoying this, and I want to make sure everybody gets what you think that would be useful.
Well, we've talked about a lot of the things to not do. And we can talk about, if you're a friend, how do you show up? And, those very first few times, it's just, I'm so sorry for your loss. And, we hold that space. We just allow that for whatever emotions to happen. We can even allow it to affect us and show that grief, because it's sad.
Yeah,
right?
yes.
And, we don't have to say or do anything, or just, it's mainly just being there.
That's helpful, actually, because we think we do have to say or do something. Just being there is good.
There's you ever heard, like, just let me know if there's anything I can do?
Yeah.
That's a really terrible thing to say, because, well, not terrible, but it's not helpful, because if we're grieving, what do I need? I don't know what I need. I don't know when I'm going to need it. So we can be a little bit more specific.
Okay.
Like, I know you're having a tough time, so I'll show up this Friday, and I'll bring a pizza, and we'll just stay inside. Or I'll handle this difficult client for you tomorrow. I know you ain't got the energy for it, and we really don't want to lose them. But we can be specific. You know them. You know your friends. And we can let it be okay if they say no. And
Mhm.
but we continue to show up. There's no timeline on grief. So a really traumatic loss, months. We do this. For months, they might be sad.
Yeah, and it can pop up for years. It surprises me that they're still, yeah, months is the minimum for some losses. Yeah, so this is good stuff. I like being specific.
Yeah.
So that because there is a brain function that doesn't work as well when you're in grief, and so taking that burden off and figuring out what you can offer to do for them is great.
And lastly, when we stop in for someone who's grieving, right? A lot of the self-talk we do is I don't want to be sad the rest of the day. I don't want their mood to influence me.
Oh,
Well, it doesn't. I mean, it might in that moment, but you're not grieving, right? These aren't your thoughts that are going on. 15 minutes later, you're going to be doing your own thing. You're going to forget about it. And that's okay. Like, it's your life. But we can show up for them and know that it's not going to ruin our day.
yeah.
Like, it's not going to influence it. And, we get better at it the more we do it.
That's good. It's almost giving us permission to just be there with them and then do the next thing. We don't have to
Yeah.
spend our time mourning.
You don't have to be there for hours.
Yeah.
10 minutes. 5 minutes. Hey, Maribeth, I just wanted to check in on you, see how you were doing today.
Yeah, that's perfect.
There's another one. A lot of people are worried about bringing up the loss, the person or pet who's died. And, bring it up. If we've had a loss, we want people to talk about it. Some of the things I hear is like, so-and-so died, and then suddenly it's like they never existed. Everyone's scared to talk about them, and so no one ever does.
Yeah.
And so I feel uncomfortable bringing it up. The griever.
The griever, right. That's really good because you never, yeah. Yeah, I know that I've been reluctant to wonder if I should or shouldn't or.
I mean, use discretion, like maybe not in the office place before a big presentation or something, but
Yeah.
just be mindful.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
Thank you. This has been so good. Thank you, Kevin. I'm going to include some information about how people can contact you, and hopefully this will be a resource there for folks that didn't know that this existed. This is just so great.
Yeah, we have free virtual pet loss support groups every single Sunday.
Okay.
You can join from wherever you are.
That's perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for taking the time, Kevin.
Oh, it's my absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me on.
All right.